Hi, I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning into the Vintage Vehicle Show. We are in Torrance, California at the Edelbrock factory. If your history goes back as far as mine does, then you know that Edelbrock has always been a major player in the hot rod scene and the racing scene and the Bonneville scene, just everywhere. Where there was high performance, there was Edelbrock. Well, standing next to me is Vic Edelbrock Jr. Vic, it is a pleasure to have you on the Vintage Vehicle Show.
Thank you very much, and pleasure having you here.
This is a fantastic facility here. How long has this been here, this museum?
About 3 years now. And it will have memorabilia on the walls that kind of take us from the 30s all the way up to present time of where Edelbrock has been.
I know you were involved in, your dad of course started the company, but you've been involved since you were a little guy, so it must be just amazing what you've seen over the years.
Yes, I have. I just always kind of loved this, and you know, when I was knee high, I was kind of getting in the way, but I just liked being with my dad. And then as I came up from there, everything here excited me, and I wanted to be part of it, and it's just great to be where it is today.
Yeah. I know when I was a little kid, and of course didn't have a car and had no money, but I managed to get enough together to get an Edelbrock sticker.
There you go. Yeah, that's always been a lot of fun.
You have some fantastic cars here. Can we take a look at a few of them?
You sure can. You sure can.
Probably very early on. I know your dad had a 32 Ford that he used as kind of a test bed for his equipment, but also the midget here, the midget racing, he got into that very early, correct?
Very early. He actually got started a little bit before World War II. The one behind me here is a Kurtis Kraft built by Frank Kurtis, who completely redesigned midget thinking and midget technology. So this was number 7, built by Kurtis, and my dad was very fortunate to have it. And then as it came along and everybody understood it, it completely rewrote the record books of all midget racing here on the West Coast.
And am I correct in that what was probably the most earth-shaking thing about this is the fact that it was powered by a Ford flathead rather than an Offenhauser motor?
Well, they had 2 circuits. Not everybody could afford an Offenhauser motor, number 1. And so they had a flathead V860 circuit, and they had an Offenhauser, what they called a blue circuit. This was the red circuit. Now, my dad first built the V860, and he bought that in late 45, early 46. And then in 1947, he built an Offie, and he ran both cars. And when he did, out of the 7 days a week, you were racing 5 days. And then trying to run his little business. He could only do that for a year, but he did it up and down the coast. But the important part of this car is the fact that it was the first car ever to run nitromethane in the United States. And it was because where my father found the Dueling brothers were in Culver City, down the street from where my father's little shop was. And they had already found it because they had slot cars that they used to race. And if you buy one, if you find one today, it's a very rare thing to have. And they raced it on a slot track, and they had to go fast. And they found this nitromethane, which was a rocket fuel, and then they gave some to my dad to run, and they ran it, and they saw what it would do. Then they were able to make everything work with, you know, more jetting and colder spark plugs and all that stuff to figure all that out. And when they got all through, they gained 40% horsepower in this engine.
One of my favorite cars is a 40 Ford. I'm surrounded by them right now. What do you have going on here?
Well, it's your favorite car, and it's mine too. Back when I was 16, I wanted a 40 Ford. That was 50, 51. Could not find one. Nobody, if they had one, they didn't want to sell it. And so I settled on a 46 Ford convertible. Unfortunately, I used that, and then I sold it. I should have hung on to it, but we didn't, hindsight. But anyway, I finally, Roy Brizio has built a lot of cars in here for me. And we were at a party, one of our parties at the SEMA show one year in Las Vegas, and the party was kind of over with, and Roy was there, and I was the guy with Roy. And I said, Roy, what are we going to do about a 40 Ford? I want to build a 40 Ford. And the guy with him says, well, I've got a steel body. I said, what? I said, come on, Roy, let's get together. And so bought the body from him. Didn't have the frame. And then these are all, they're both original bodies, but they're all framed and front end suspension and everything that Roy uses, so it's not like a original stock. And in this one here, we got a 302 with a dual quad manifold on an automatic transmission. This is the 351 with a 5-speed Mustang transmission. And I just love it. Got the coupe first. The story on the coupe was that I didn't want to flame it. Roy says, you got to flame it. I said, I don't want to flame it. And so he had the car up there for, he was fixing something for us. And he called me up and he says, Vic, I just flamed your car. I said, you what? And he did. And actually, I got to say, it looks very, very, very good.
So you were upset. You went back to get the car. You looked at it and went, okay.
I saw it and I knew that was the right thing to do. I love it. I love the looks of them. And, you know, someday I'd like to do a convertible. I might. But right now I got these two guys.
Yeah, well, they look like two of the best in the country, so they're absolutely gorgeous.
Well, thank you very much. We enjoy them very much.
There's Camaros and there's Camaros, and I think we have one that is at the top of this, being the most fantastic one around. Vic, tell us a little bit about this car.
Well, this is the hot rod test car, and this was the number 3 SS 350 small block Chevy Camaro built in the late '66.
So this is the third one.
This is the third one, first one in California. This came out to Hot Rod, and Hot Rod had a cover shot of this with a drag chute behind it. And then, of course, the guys at Hot Rod didn't return it back to GM. They used it as a test car. It's gone from everything from small blocks. They put a big block in it, and it had quite a life. Important thing for it was the fact that when it was still small block, and Jim McFarland was editor of the magazine, who worked for me for over 20 years. Jim did an article on a new manifold and a new carburetor that we worked out with Holly called a 3-barrel. And we did it on this car, and of course that being in Hot Rod magazine just really opened the doors. We sold a lot of that product, and it was a kind of a nice stepping stone for Edelbrock. So that's why this car is really special.